Well, everybody, guess what? It's another Vinland Saga month. Every month is Vinland Saga month. Seemingly this prick doesn't miss. And we're back with another prick, Jarkey Bacon.
Me, I'm here, and I'm a prick.
I wonder if that'll get us... well, we're not monetized anyway, huh? So it doesn't matter. You can be a prick in the first minute, all you want.
That's discrimination against those who use that word, you know. I feel like it's very America focused. So if you use anything that's like not in the American radar, a bad word, you're good. I think that's how it works.
Prick is like a British and therefore an Australian word, right? These Yanks don't use it.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, it's an anti-yank. It's like calling someone a wanker. You know,
Yeah.
like no one. YouTube doesn't care about that.
Indeed. There were lots of chants in a football match recently about someone being a wanker. And that was a very Australian chant. So, it was actually the fella from the Headlock clip who was playing that team again.
Oh.
Obviously, the fella from the Headlock clip, this is completely off topic, we're keeping it in, plays for the team that I go for. So it was my team getting called a wanker, Bacon. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Who just like the team that you support?
Well, it was because the dude he had in the Headlock, because that was a state game, but now they're back at club level, so it was the Bulldogs versus Titans. It was the whole thing, all right? We don't want to shoehorn this at the beginning of our Vinland Saga talk. The people will leave.
Yeah, everybody's clicked on. Yeah.
Instead, we're here to talk about a thing, Bacon. A thing, the thing.
Yeah. We see Thorkel.
Let's stick to... We talked about doing this chronologically, so let's not skip forward too much. We do see Thorkel on the first page. He's back. Everybody's in love.
Yeah. He has two eyes still, so it's clearly very young Cordelia. I just thought about that just now. Wow, I'm so smart.
Wait, he loses an eye against Thorfinn in the snow, right?
Yeah.
Okay, see, I got a memory on me, Bacon. I remember everything, yeah. Never have I forgotten a detail about Vinland Saga, as we can all attest.
Yeah, but, exactly. You're pretty good at remembering details.
Said no one ever, but anyway.
Yeah.
Immediately when this happened, I realized that at the climax of the thing, Cordelia was gonna snitch, and I thought that was going to like lose Aina the day, but he ended up winning anyway. So my prediction was half right. But as soon as I saw this, I was like, "Ooh, Cordelia focused. She's gonna talk about this fucking sword," and it somehow clicked because I feel like we've talked about how's the sword gonna come into play a million times. But then I was like, here, it was like so obvious to me. Oh, it's going to undermine Aina here. Ivar. But Aina. He did end up getting undermined because he's on our side. But go ahead.
It's interesting. I thought it would come at the reveal would come at a more unfortunate time. But I don't know. Kyle, I guess before you start, like, what were your general thoughts on this chapter?
It was a good old time. I only read this less than an hour ago. I feel like it's a continuation of everything we've been seeing. Why? Is it a controversial one or something? Because I have not delved into the community analysis at all.
People seem to really like it online. Though there is like one aspect that most people are like,
the Gudrid stuff?
Not too sure. Yeah. Lots of people like...
Okay, we'll get to that. It was in the vein of the things we were just talking about in your RE discussions. The comedy stuff. That brings up a lot of interesting things while also being funny, but yeah, we'll get to that. Unless you want to say something now.
No. I'm just going to go back to the first page. I think I was getting a bit confused with Cordelia. So clearly this is Thorkel when Cordelia's a child, and this is like the first time he's seen her. Because like in the flashback initially, she only sees Thorkel
as like this
twice.
Deity thingy, right? I remember.
Yeah. And he kind of comes the first time and says, "Oh, you're a woman? Okay, here's your child support. I'm going off to battle." And then he comes back with a husband.
Oh, so he's found out. Yeah, I didn't even put that together. Okay, yeah.
So, I think this is the first time, because the second time, so I was rereading the panel, the second time he does have an eye patch. So it's after he's fought Thorfinn. So this is the first time. So this is when, like, he's just, like, affirming that, like, however, you are born as a man after all, or whatever. And you're like, okay. Anyway, this is her memories of him when she was very young. And then I assume that how Cordelia is meant to be. Almost slipped. Cordelia is meant to be fighting here because this is when she's a slave and she's been bought by a mercenary gang. That's my assumption.
Ah,
So before she got hit into Halfdan's area, she's meant to be fighting here. Um.
so she was a
Anyway,
slave in the past. Is this a bit of characterization
that's
I'm forgetting? Because she's half
that's
enslaved too, right?
yeah. So she was probably another Muslim or another slave beforehand and got bought as a fighting unit.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
I think after she fled. That's my assumption. Like, but I don't actually know the timeline. Anyway, I was trying to figure it out. I got a bit confused. Anyway, and then at the bottom here, you've got a very
Sympathetic?
sympathetic looking Ivor, which is
Mm-hmm.
actually yeah. So pretty cool when they're talking in the forest.
Yeah.
Well, seeing the
Oh,
sword.
this is a flashback, right, to the previous
Mm-hmm.
talk. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, we start off with because this is going to be the central conflict, or talking about battle will be the central conflict of the chapter, so it's a good little head in. Um, but yeah, Cordelia remembering and being conflicted and being unsure. Um,
Hmm.
this is also Cordelia's mother at the top of the second page, correct? This is how we've always
Yes.
seen her.
Yeah. Always seen her with her face blacked out. Um,
The
though
potential
if you
Thorkel
want,
love interest. Uh-oh.
ooh, yeah, just assume she's generic blonde lady. There's quite a few of them
Mm,
in the manga, right? So,
indeed. It does look like she has blonde
mm,
hair, so it couldn't even be a crazy reveal that indeed she
mm.
has black hair, like Gudrid or something. But
Yeah, exactly.
Thorfinn then announces the
Yeah,
beginning of the thing. We see some other kids.
mm,
We've seen other kids
yeah,
previously, right? Because Hild's the teacher, and they all side with Hild at the end, and that's like a callback to that. I
yeah.
peeped that. Um,
So I think the girl next to Carly here is the one they were fighting over the swing with.
I vaguely
And then you
remember
got
this.
this, then you got you this chump in the back, just chilling and eating
He's
some food.
chomping.
Uh, yeah, that's who I would be in this
Hmm.
situation, I think. People identifying with Ivor Thorfinn, I'm this kid, I'm just eating my food.
This kid looks like Canute, right? Not the eaten one, but
I
the other one.
guess. Oh yeah, oh yeah,
He's a spy, I
um,
know it, or she's a spy.
yeah, yeah. Knut's here on Vinland,
He's gonna Griffith
unsurprisingly.
over, like we've seen. That's the
Yeah.
Moonlight chart. I'm seeing it with my own eyes. Berserk spoilers, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
but
Don't worry.
indeed.
All Vinland Saga fans are Berserk fans, right?
Uh
That's
huh.
like an inherent thing.
Yep.
Um,
The cute kids. But then we get the
yeah, for
title
sure.
page. Three pages in, we're bucking the trend. Isn't it usually the second page, Bacon?
Oh, I don't know. It's a mix between the first, second, and third, I think.
Okay, so it might not
Um,
be as well in the ordinary. Oh fuck! I got an alarm going off. Shut up. I just noticed that Arni's statue. I think we cut to it later, so it makes sense. But Arni's statue is
Mhm.
over here. But
Is I was. It's interesting. It is in a lot of shots, which is like she's overlooking all of it. Which is pretty
indeed,
interesting. But yeah.
she's important still. Oh, it's the very next page where we get the Arnie shot. Um, the Are we going to go point by point through? I guess. Um,
I guess we can go roughly. Like, I guess Thorfinn is very much like, okay, we got a proper way of doing these things. So Ivor gives a speech.
yeah,
Uh, the,
goes
it doesn't really
first, which
matter, but the
Harold
key,
criticizes him for.
yeah, that's the key thing. Like Howard's, I said Hild, Hild has I guess just been shown to be much more pragmatic than Thorfinn, and
Mm.
Thorfinn is still shown to be very idealist. So yeah,
Yeah, it
um,
is. Yeah, it's cute because it's like they are directly, unequivocally on the same side here, working together.
yeah, exactly.
Ah, how far we've come. Um,
How far?
I'm trying to read here because again, I've only gone through this once. What exactly is being said at this point? But this is basically Thorfinn just saying, "Let Einar have his talk." Einar's point. Wait, I keep saying Einar. Ivar's point here is basically that obviously Vinland, the idea is no war, no slaves. He's not advocating for slaves here, but he's saying that weapons are needed to avoid war. And that's basically
Yeah.
his main argument. So he doesn't betray the spirit of what everybody signed up for.
Mm.
This will develop into
Yeah.
something else later, but yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah. I mean, Ivor's whole point is that like he doesn't. Well, here's what he's saying at least, which is what Gudrid calls him out on later, is that he doesn't want to use the sword. Okay, he just wants to have a sword just in case he is attacked. Right? He
Mm.
wants defensive abilities. He wants a way to defend himself. Now, one thing I do find a little weird about Vinland is that spears, for most people, would be way more effective at defending yourself than a sword. Swords are hard to use. Spears are generally not. So historically, at least, spears are pretty good, and they're okay with spears from Vinland because I guess they're um,
I feel like
useful for
you've argued
hunting.
against this before, Bacon. You say that spears are used for hunting or whatever, and swords aren't, so that's why swords are bad. Also, swords have been the
Oh,
thematic thing the whole series. So
oh,
that's the
of course, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying from the point of defending yourself. From Ivor's point of view, having
so
a
he should be
sword.
satisfied. I get
Um,
it. Yeah.
yeah, he like a spear should be good enough, mate. Um, but I don't think that's really on the table of what thematically he's trying to be. That's more of like a nitpicky historical
Mm.
detail rather than anything substantial, I feel. But
Completely
I'm not
off
saying
topic. No,
anything.
go ahead. Go ahead. Finish.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm just reading what Ivor's saying. Ivor's just kind of been very disregarding of this condition of joining the thing. Um, I guess he's like, well, we're here now. Things have changed. We agreed to this initially. Well, Ivor never really did agree, but like, he's just trying to confirm
Yeah.
it going on.
The
Yeah.
there's sort of parallel here is that like Thorfinn and Ivar both kind of don't have any tact, and they've sort of got wingmen that are like trying to give them advice
Mm.
with Stork and Hild and Hild. Just the thing off topic that I was gonna say. Does Stork have the tattoos on his face, or is it just Ivar and the deaf dude?
Sturk has different tattoos. He's called Stork in this chapter, but that's a
Sturk
mistranslation,
Stork.
I guess. But Stork or Sturk, well, the same thing.
I'm gonna
They're
fuck
just,
up the names
um,
regardless.
yeah. Well, Stork is what the scanlation team called it, but then the official translation came out and called him Sturk. It's like how
Mm,
Ivor changed from EY to I, yeah, and all that stuff. Anyway,
okay.
um, but
I was just thinking
yeah, yeah.
maybe that the deaf dude is Ivar's brother or something, because they even look a little more similar than Stork, but like they come from the
Hmm.
same clan, and that's why I have the tattoos. But I don't know. Does Stork have any? If so, they
Yeah,
probably all just come from the same place or something.
yeah. I mean, we've kind of talked before about how Ivor has never probably seen war, but the tattoos mean something.
Mm.
If I was more, rehearsed in history, I probably would know, but like, there could be some sort of warrior tattoo, like it is a very key part of his design. So I don't know. Um,
How come
hmm.
Ivar would have never seen a war? How come we think this? Is this just
Looking by his hands and his demeanor, I think
the
it's contrasted with
hands?
Thorfinn. At a lot of points, he just seems like that kind of he fulfills this role like Sigurd, like Olmar, that
Yeah,
they've never seen war, but they talk big about it and how it's really cool. So
yeah. Okay.
um, I also like in the background of lots of Ivor's thing, you have Sturk with his big eyes
Big
going
fucking
on.
eyes. I was noticing the big
Yeah,
fucking
he
eyes.
yeah, yeah, it
The
makes him
things on the
seem
mask make it seem like he's doing an even more animated face, but that's on his mask.
yeah, yeah, like his eyebrows are really
Yeah.
high up and stuff. Yeah, like he's looking around, he's observing. I think Sturk is actually subtly like the master negotiator. Um,
Indeed, yes.
and yeah, but you mentioning that Hild and Thorfinn are kind of like a pair, like Ivar and Sturk, and I think that is true. But I almost think that Ivar almost contrasts Gudrid because Thorfinn is very idealistic, but he has more I guess grace.
Yeah, like
But Ivar's very
stoicism.
blunt.
You're gonna say Gudrid's
Yeah.
emotional, just like Ivor, right? That's where we're going.
Yeah, yeah. Or brash. Brash is a better
Mm.
term, I think. So yeah, they kind of just go at it. But yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think oh yeah, and then Aina drops the Thorfinn Bug Eyes is coming this way as well. And
Indeed,
you're
there's a
like,
hint
oh,
that
oh.
this bug eyes,
I'm just like,
he's going to
oh.
see
I
his
was like, oh well,
wife.
yeah, well, what's Bug Eyes doing? Well, what's he doing? I like how they just kind of talk like how like throughout this chapter it's kind of just dropped um at different points that okay, things are gonna happen, so we kind of have the Cordelia stuff set up, and then so it just adds tension. I don't know, I felt like a real sense of tension in this chapter for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
I guess it shows that Thorfinn maybe does have some tact because he potentially foresaw that this wasn't going to end well and that he'd bring the Linu people over any
Yeah.
just in case.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Uh, Interestingly, on that middle panel there, you can see Arnie's statue in the background. So
mhm.
she's kind of like still watching.
She almost
I quite
blends in
like
as a
that.
part of the crowd.
Oh yeah, she's one
Um,
of them
hmm
in spirit.
Where are
Hmm.
we going to next? Gudrid pipes up for a second. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and points out, which will be developed later, that all the women are against war, which is an Arnie thing, right? Arnie, that was
yeah.
part of the big point of Arnie's backstory about how stupid all the men were and how greedy they were and how they lost everything because of it. And um, there's probably
Hmm.
other. I guess it's kind of like Ilva too. It's basically throughout all of Vinland Saga, right? The women have to stay home and um, worry
Pick up the
about the men
pieces.
coming back, or worry about the unproductivity, or be vulnerable while all the men are away to be attacked like Arnid was. Um,
Hmm.
Sucks to be a woman too, even if they're not doing the direct hard lifting in the war usually. Um,
Yeah, and I think, I mean, of course, I think this is something we'll get to more later. But there's something to be said. I think this is specifically to do with Viking culture. I think lots of these people like kind of just assume, oh, Yukimura is saying that only men want to fight, like even in modern day stuff, and like and it's this really strong binary. But I think it's particularly with this group of people as well that it like gives more context to what they're saying.
mm,
Like if you read the Baltic Sea War, do you think you know like like it's a pointless war? That's the idea that is shown, right? But do you
yeah.
think like the wives of those men fighting for Thorkel really wanted them to go out to battle and just die pointlessly?
Mm,
Like, I don't think they did. They weren't even defending anything. They were just going on a trip to go fight. Now that some of them probably went off to fight to get gold and plunder and bring that back home, but it's ultimately a very selfish kind of thing, and that's why I think Gudrid talks about it being more like of a game and them playing rather than
yeah.
them actually
It's like
kind of yeah.
because this and the Gudrid stuff, I feel like it's maybe the most interesting stuff in the chapter, just because of everything it kind of implies. Um,
Hmm.
that is like a talking point. I'm pretty sure like the Hillary Clinton campaign sort of brought that up about how like every war in human history has been like started by a man or whatever, and maybe it's a woman's time and we would have all this less conflict and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
it's obviously a thing to talk about. It obviously comes from more of a sexist gender role space, right? That women really were
Hmm.
never given the opportunity to war, um, and it sort of goes into
Yeah.
biological realism or whatever, and how different you think the genders are biologically or whatever. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I mean, just historically speaking, like the UK's first female prime minister, Maggie Thatcher,
yeah,
did go to war. The Falklands War, very famous war in the UK. Um, so I mean,
yeah.
like it's empirically not true. Like women leaders do go to war. That is true.
Well, if you
It
want
is.
to do the Gudrid argument, well, that's like one against a billion or whatever, however male
Yeah,
leaders.
yeah,
But
it's true.
it's kind of gets into like the pointlessness of vengeance-themed warring in
Mm,
stories, where it seems like stories always want to do like the if we all just get along, then war won't happen because conflict won't happen because we'll all get along. But really, like contemporaneously, like in the modern world and probably historically, wars usually aren't actually fought for revenge. It's usually like a logistics thing or a profit thing or something, where there's a million different things that would lead you to invading something, um, to
yeah,
expand
yeah,
territory and stuff.
and
It's more complicated than that. So it's like whether or not a
yeah,
woman gets mad as much as a man is really like it's probably not Margaret Thatcher's. It probably wasn't her
yeah,
own decision, right? It's like a million
mm,
things building up to that in her parties, whatever, and yeah, and all that stuff. So
yeah. I mean, and let's not forget, Gudrid literally wanted to start trying to fight Thorkel. Like she has resulted in violence before, like
yeah,
literally. Um, so I mean, I think what we'll have to see later what the exact wording for Gudrid is, but like what Yukimura is saying, I don't think Yukimura is implying at all that is biological,
Mm,
and instead making more of a cultural critique of Viking spaces. I think that's much more his angle, and the
yeah,
reason for that is, Thorfinn is given as an example of a new type of man, so
yeah.
it's not inherent, and also Cordelia also does exist, someone who is assigned male at birth, but
I was about to bring up the Cordelia being trans thing is like a massive uh
show that
another
like
angle to
if
this conflict of like obviously the biological thing is
Yeah.
at
Well,
play.
okay. Yeah. But so Cordelia, I mean, I know like Cordelia is weirdly, I guess, trans because
Yeah,
her
it's
experience isn't exactly
yeah.
the same, but she is literally a biological male brought up as a woman, right?
Mm,
And so that's very, very clearly here's a biological male being brought up if with the gender expectations of a woman and
yes.
therefore not
Shows that it's
wanting more
cultural.
because yeah, it like quintessentially is cultural. So, yeah. So I mean it's interesting because it feels like almost like this is the whole point of like Cordelia, like thematically,
Yes, that's
like
what
it's so
yeah, that
much
was what I was
brought so
trying to
much more
mention.
into clarity about like how you can either go through it all like Thorfinn, or you can instead, just you know be brought up in the ways of a woman's perspective, and then you're less likely to war. Because if you think about it, with men, like with Thorfinn, at least portrayed in Vinland Saga, I don't know if it's exactly true with Viking. I assume that it's definitely mostly true that you got this idea of Valhalla. Lots of the boys will always play fight. You see it multiple times.
Hmm.
Thorfinn when he's younger, even in like flashbacks with Sigurd or Garm, they're play fighting. Because they're fighting for war. There's this mentality of violence, 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 because they want to play rough and stuff like that, and they'll eventually get glory in Valhalla. And it's almost this kind of like, oh, let the men do what they want to do, and then the woman just has to deal with whatever
Yeah,
the men want to do. And I think that's the core of Gudrid's
yeah.
argument. So,
The there's another thing to be said, and this is continued later when Gudrid speaks again, is that it's very cutesy the way it's done. Like you can see how
mm,
this would be animated. Like Gudrid says, and all the women are on our side, and then in the background, all the women in unison would nod, and it would be funny. This,
yeah, like that. They could make like a big sound or
yeah,
something like that. And
all not
yeah,
in agreement.
I
Yeah,
imagine the same thing. Yeah.
the
Um,
because that comes back later because it's talked about this like portrayal of manliness, and then Ivor kind of turns that on them, which is interesting. But we'll get to all this.
Yeah, we'll
Um,
get to this. I guess we should read what Ivor's saying here. So what I'm saying is that no one can guarantee good relationships between us and the Lanu, Elnu. To them, we're just invaders in the first place. I think this is a key point, like they have just turned up. There's no guarantee
Indeed.
that they've made an inherently aggressive action. Um, Now, interesting. I'm not sure if Ivor was saying this at the beginning, but I'm pretty sure it was brought up by the scaredy cat guy, Mr. Uge, Mr. Ugg, initially.
I think
So
that comes up next. I think
yeah,
it's on the very next page,
yeah,
actually. Yeah.
I mean, but like previously
Oh
in
yeah,
previous
yeah,
chapters, and I think that's interesting because I think Ivor in some way like he has his thoughts, but he's not able to make the best ones. Like his thoughts have become a lot more clear, and it's almost like I'm not sure if he's taking like talking points and using them for his position. Like anyway, he doesn't feel like the originator for a lot of these thoughts in a way
yeah.
or these points, but I'm not sure if that's a small character detail or something.
Mm,
Anyway, he's probably the more stereotypical manly character that's probably more convincing to a wider audience, hence why he's making these points.
yeah,
Um, and it's so like Sturk and Mr. Uge are more uh, small in nature and stature. So
yeah.
and the settlement is a success. The population will continue to grow. This is shown, like Gudrid's literally pregnant, so that makes sense.
Indeed, yeah,
That means, they'll be keep expanding our fields. In other words, they're taking more and more land.
yeah.
So even if they are
More
not trying to
aggressive.
invade, they're gonna, yeah, more aggressing by necessity, which means there'll probably be eventually conflict.
It's
Um,
interesting in this
yeah.
monologue that he's sort of like conceding that they're the ones that aggressed first, and so that would be natural that they would act out in self-defense, which will mean that we're going to need swords. Um,
Mm,
it's interesting because it's just interesting that he like concedes that we did the bad thing first, whereas
mm,
which I guess is a more historically agreeable, like contemporaneously, people like, yeah, like the white people did invade and aggress first, whereas Thorfinn is kind of against that, saying like, oh, we can cooperate here.
Mm.
It's just kind of
Well,
interesting
Thorfinn kind of
historically.
acted. I mean, Thorfinn didn't really consider that people could
Yeah.
be living in Vinland already. Like that, there wasn't like he just wanted to get away from the Norse world, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing. Like, I guess one thing he didn't really ever consider that. Yeah, their actions are inherently aggressive. Um, and I mean that's the reason why they're lucky that the Lanu that they met of the Gippy tribe or whatever.
Yeah.
Walked out to them first and spied on them, and like they were able to establish good relationships in the first place. That's a fortunate thing to have happen, not just initial aggression.
I
But
guess does private property exist in Vinland? Because I guess if Thorfinn doesn't believe in like land ownership as a concept, if
mm,
he's becoming a commie out here, maybe he wouldn't see anything like wrong with it or anything like that. I think maybe I feel like if he was to sympathize with the native people, he would probably be like, well, they like the forest and we're like fucking up something they like, so that means we should probably try to do it as little as possible or something. That might be
yeah,
Thorfinn's
yeah.
more
Com com
Thorfinn's thing.
yeah. Communication's key, I guess. I also think that Thorfinn's goal eventually is maybe even just like merging the tribes together or something. Like I think he
Yeah,
has mentioned it
I was thinking
before,
about that while
like
reading it. It's like
into
that would be
marriage. Yeah.
the best thing. I feel like it would only. I don't think any of the Nordic people would be like, okay, I'll go and live in their culture. I think they would probably want them to come live with them. So I don't know, like, uh, I feel like that would only
Yeah.
work one way. But obviously, if the bug eye stuff is developing in the way we sort of meme is it developing, again, like Cordelia being like the middle ground of the gendered argument, then they might be the
Mm.
middle ground of the like assimilation uh, thing here. But yeah,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We'll have to see. Yeah, but I think Ivor's points here initially are like they're very reasonable. They're like they're very, I guess, they're cynical,
yeah,
but they're also pragmatic. Because he's saying like, yeah, they aren't if they aren't stupid, they must have realized that by now. Like, I mean,
which
he's
they
being
have.
like
But yeah,
brash. Yeah, they have
well,
realized,
some of them.
like these are, yeah, like they aren't stupid. But he's also just kind of bringing his old world mentality to this new world and applying it here. And that's I guess the issue with it is something that Thorfinn doesn't want to take.
They do call it like the old country in this, don't they? That's a phrase that's used.
Yeah.
That's something I hear Italians say in mob stuff. Is like Italy is the old country.
Oh.
It's cute. I like it a lot.
Mm,
It's in like Black Sails they always talk about like Europe is the old world while the Americas are the new
mm,
world. It's kind of
new
cool.
world. Yeah.
Even though
Yeah.
that's a
I mean, that,
very Eurocentric way to look at things, Bacon. Obviously, the world is equally
true.
old. It's just where white people had gone. Um,
Yeah. That is
were you
true.
going to say something?
If anything, the old world is Africa, right?
Indeed. Well, I guess the
Um,
world existed, but people. That's a very people-centric
mhm.
view of things, Bacon.
Yeah. I
But
know. I'm so people centric.
you are
Um,
disgusting.
speciesist. I know. Um, yeah, and so I would guess like the general, Ivor's points are working, then Uge comes in and is like, oh sorry, I have I
The
should close my
enemies
window.
thing.
You can probably hear that playing. Yeah.
Oh
If
yeah.
I were the enemy, I would hide until there's some time to attack and then catch them off guard. I mean, Uge, to be honest, I doubt Uge would actually do this, but
Yeah, he's
he's
too
just
cowardly.
assuming the worst. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just scared, so he's just thinking of what they're definitely doing in his mind. But I
Yeah.
like that Thorfinn, doesn't
He
interrupt
says
until
enemies, Bacon. He says it. He says, please
yeah,
don't call them our
exactly.
enemies. Remember Thor's
Yeah,
Bacon? I
exactly.
remember him.
Oh, I do. Rest in peace. Actually, I just noticed this Gudrid face at the bottom. She is
It is a good
displeased.
face.
It is a Gudrid face. And then you got Hild in the background. There's lots of good faces in the background. It's
Indeed.
fun to watch. And then you got yeah, you
Who's
got
the
this
girl
is like an
eating? We
interest.
got another eaten in the background here. Oh no, it's just her fist up to her mouth. She's contemplating. I thought that was bread.
Yes, yeah. She's going, hmm.
Indeed.
But I've
Almost
actually
looks like
pointed
she's
yeah, it's
speaking
good.
there, but it's not.
Yeah. The next page
is the people talking amongst
They-
themselves.
yeah. I don't think they're saying anything new here.
Yeah,
It's just
it's
kind
just
of
sort of a
showing.
reiteration. But then Gudrid
We
again,
need.
very cutesy, says, yes, can I speak, can I
Yeah.
speak? And then Thorfinn formally gives it off to her, even though they're fucking on the down low, Bacon. Why are they speaking so formally?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a
Yeah.
cute little moment in front of
It's
everybody.
a cute moment.
And then she says, I'm
And then,
telling you from a woman's point of view, and here we go, Bacon.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, uh-oh, Reddit's gonna be fun.
Yeah. These
It actually
fucking
was.
feminists. Ruining Vinland, not just Vinland Saga, but Vinland itself. Oh no, the people are going off.
Yeah, yeah.
But lead us through this, Bacon. Lead us through.
I think it's interesting because Gudrid's face is like drawn more elongated. I feel like she's normally like more
Are we
cutesy,
talking at
like
the
in a way.
bottom of this page or
Like,
the next one?
yeah, like just in general. Yeah. Like the one that you've got. Like, I guess. I mean, I saw something like, oh, she's shedding her baby fat because she's in pregnancy, and I thought that was a cute idea. So, anyway.
You know, this is
yeah.
completely off topic, talking about Gudrid's appearance. The red cheek thing has always stopped Gudrid from being attractive to me. I don't know why, that's completely off topic, but I've been thinking it the whole time. I've been reading Vinland Saga, and I was thinking it again now. But that
You're not
doesn't
the
matter.
only
You shouldn't
one.
talk about a woman's appearance when she's making an argument, Bacon, you fucking sexist pig.
Anyway, yeah, she makes the whole point that we were talking about earlier, like, do you ever think about what women actually feel when they go to war? And I mean, I guess this is a bit of a straw man of your average Norse guy. I guess this is the one point where it can feel bad, like the guy is clearly not thinking, but maybe some men would have thought what they're thinking, but who knows?
This
I guess
again.
it's a general critique.
Yeah, I don't think it's just Northmen. Like, this is definitely a thing contemporaneously. Probably more so with, like, rape culture, where it's sort of like women are sort of scared, like, inherently to, like, get into dudes' cars or get into Ubers by themselves or things like this. And when you're like when you initially hear this as, like, a man having never thought about it, you're like, that's stupid as fuck. Why are you scared to go into an Uber by yourself with, like, a man or something? But, like, it comes from experience, right? It's not just, like, something they all made up to pretend to be scared about. It's obviously, like a bunch of things that as a man you just never consider, like walking yourself, going to catch Pokemon. I'll do that any day. But like if you're a woman, it's like, oh, this is like scary. And you just sort of never think about that. Or I guess it is like literal male privilege of like just things you were unaware of and don't think about. And this is sort of the Nordic version of this, of like you never have to stay home and worry about somebody else really. You just go off and have fun at war or whatever it is, realize it's shit and then die, and we're left to like, you die, all right? You don't have to deal with the emotional baggage afterwards. What video did I make that point in recently? Something. It's cool. It's ringing in my head. Doesn't matter. Go ahead, Bacon.
Yeah, no, I think that's like actually a good point. Like, I mean, because I've got a sister, and like sometimes, like even with getting taxis home and stuff, like I'm just like, just get in the car or walk home. Like, it's literally not that big of a deal. And generally, where we live, she would probably be fine. But like, due caution is needed, I guess. And that's also, I guess, part of the general, just the expectation that a woman wouldn't be able to handle herself.
Yeah.
Well, like me, I'm not. I mean,
there's also like the male thing of like, well, if somebody tried to attack me while I was walking home, I'd beat the fuck out of all 7 of them and run away because I'm sick. That is kind of like the unconscious male experience of like, yeah, if somebody attacks me, if I get mugged or something, I'm gonna grab his wrist, I'm gonna flip him over, I'm gonna stab him and run off.
Yeah, I'm gonna do what that guy in the UFC did one time.
Yeah,
I mean.
Yeah. And that's what the men think, right? They're like, well, I'm going to go off to war, I'm going to become a warrior, I'm going to kill all these pricks, when really you're going to be at the beginning of a cavalry charge and you're going to get stabbed and you're going to die.
Yeah. I mean, what's the saying from like Mike Tyson? No one knows like the first time that you get punched. Like
everybody has a plan until they get punched into the face. Is that what you go?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah, like I've never been in a fight, but
neither have I.
I've definitely been like, But I definitely have sized dudes up. Like when I like I'm like looking around and I'm like, yeah, I could take this chump. Yeah,
I think about this all the time when I'm walking around at like supermarkets or whatever, where I like see a dude that's taller than me because I don't see it too often. I'm like, this dude's taller than me. I don't like this. What's gonna happen?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
if you're a girl, everybody's taller than you, especially blokes. So it's like a thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's also so like some background is that I went to an all boys school for my
Mm.
high school experience,
Uh-oh.
most of it. But then there was also like a sister all girls school in my area.
Mm.
And so
How convenient.
for for one of my classes in like later secondary school, um, I they didn't do it at my school, so I went to the girls' school to go do those classes. And I went there, and I was like this. So I'm full disclosure. I'm 175 centimeters. I'm 5'9", just on a good day.
He's a tall
Um,
king.
I'm not the tallest. I'm not the tallest guy. I'm pretty average, but so I'm used to it, and particularly when you're like, it's an all boys school. Like I'm generally in the lower half, if not the first quartile of height. I'm
Mm.
looking up at most people, but then I go to the girls' school, and I literally can see above everybody's heads, apart from the occasional girl.
Mm.
It was an uncanny feeling, like just being like, wow, everybody just got way smaller.
Yeah.
But it, it is one of those things you do, I guess you do have to think about it. And yeah, but also like it's not that men aren't in danger in these moments. It's just like I guess I don't know. Like sometimes, I mean, sometimes though, I took my sister to the gym once, and I was like, wow, you are like so weak. Now my sister isn't like an athletic person, so I wouldn't
Yeah.
say, but like just in general, like I remember the first time I went to the gym when I was like 15, I was lifting twice of what she wanted to do. Like I didn't put any weights on the bar. There's like 20 kilos on the bar. And she's like, I'm happy squatting this. And I guess it's partly mentality as well. She's not like, yeah, I'm gonna like smash this weight, bro. I'm gonna like absolutely crush it, man.
Mm.
She's not like got that mentality. But I was surprised. I was like, come on, can you do a bit more? Like this is
Yeah.
come on, you're my blood. You're meant to be strong. Like
I
this is women to be absolutely. Yeah, I don't know.
I think the because we're talking about like sort of experiential things and how that attributes to things. I think that is like kind of the overall point here, right? Is that Thorfinn's been through this whole journey to arrive at the conclusion that they don't need swords, and we've all gone on this journey with him, so we understand it also. Um, but Ivar hasn't gone on this journey, and how you communicate everything you've learnt along that journey into words to convince somebody is very difficult. Um,
Mm,
and I think about this all the time,
yeah.
and sort of like it really people I feel like fundamentally have to learn from their own mistakes, and they can't really be told things. Um, I feel like this is
It's the
yeah.
feeling that matters. Yeah, I have a video that I plan to release at 1,000 subscribers that kind of
Mm,
illustrates this point to a T. And basically, the idea is that I kind of talk about a video where, I've had lots of people close to me, or in some variation, have died. And
mm,
you don't really know, like you watch so many anime where they talk about like human connection really matters and enjoying the time you have with people really matters. But you don't really understand. I didn't
yeah.
understand it
I
until
entirely
they
agree.
literally were forced away from me because they got cancer at 19 years old or whatever, right? Like I just didn't could
Mm,
like be like, yes, I should have spent more time and understood. Like you just don't understand. Like someone can,
yeah.
if it's what people kind of call head knowledge. You can understand in your head, but you
Yeah,
don't.
it's practically yeah. I find
Yeah.
myself thinking about like platitudes like that all the time, and like how like you hear them a million times when you're a kid, and then it's not until like you're older and you're thinking, oh, that was actually some deep shit. But as a kid, it just like
Mm,
rolls like in one ear out the other. Like just something like the grass is greener on the other side, and you're like, oh. That's like everybody. That's like an explanation for everything in life. You're always going to be sort of wanting something more, and then once you get something more, you understand that there's something else, or the grass is always green on the other side, or just any stupid thing like that. Like even like dumb
hmm
like love is all that matters, or something that you might see in like even in like Harry Potter, or something even for younger kids or something. And then you go back and you, as an adult, you're like, man, like caring about people is really the only thing that makes you happy, and you sort of like reflect on these things. And it's sort of like these
mm,
mindless platitudes that are just thrown at you as a kid that you can't possibly understand, where people tell them to you to try to communicate that idea, and it really it doesn't come through until you're like 20 or something, and you think back and you've had some life experience and some tragedy and all that stuff. I talked about that in talking about Cowboy Bebop back in the day a lot, where it was like
yeah,
I
yeah.
watched the show the first time, And then, like, literally a week later, my itty bitty heart got broken. And then I watched the whole show again, and I was like, oh my god, it's the greatest show of all time. I get it. And that was in like a period of like 1 month at the end of high school and then afterwards. And it was like, oh, like, I get it. And it's like, oh, you just sort of have to have the life experience to understand these sorts of things. But Bacon, I got half an hour. So we got to kind of plow through the things. I actually still get through things.
But yeah, no, I think we made a pretty strong point of like just...
You can't understand women unless you're a woman, so you should actually listen to them like is screamed at you by feminists. And it's actually a good point, even if it's annoying sometimes. Listen to women, Bacon. You got to put the claps in the middle. Experience is a thing.
I think and I think people to get mad that Gudrid's being like a bit I mean, so here she's being like strong in how she's saying it, but she doesn't get mocking until Ivor gets mocking herself. Like I guess the men here are kind of like, but we're risking our lives for our family. Seems like can be true, but it's like, but then Gudrid kind of brings back the main point. Like, and it's a very strong point.
It's like not true. Like, kind of like you might think that, and that might be what you tell yourself, but is that actually true? It's like
and she just kind of brings it back and says, have you not forgotten like the whole point why you're here? You agreed to want to create this country without slaves or war. This is the point. Now you can make the point, like, which is probably what I was kind of trying to make, is that, well, to stop war, you need to have a presence of force that would intimidate any foe to not fight you. That's the idea, Swords are, it's the whole idea with the nuclear bombs, Hey, if you nuke us, we nuke you. Mutually assured destruction. Yeah, fear is what creates and binds peace. And if, in a sense, historically, peacefully, places that have nukes probably have the least amount of war.
Direct war.
Direct war.
I don't think Vinland has enough people to be doing proxy wars at this point. So
no, I don't think so. True. It like, at least in our modern day world, the best, what Ivor is suggesting is kind of what we've seen historically work the most.
Yeah, but swords aren't nukes, right? Like,
no,
there isn't absolute destruction. It's just sort of like, we're gonna cling swords together and a bunch of us are gonna die. But
and I mean, this is Thorfinn's point about like the magic of a sword. Like it kind of whispers to you, want me and use me. And it's because culturally, these dudes are looking for a fight. Ivor's been shown to look for a fight. At the smallest sight of anything going wrong, Ivor's drawn his sword, which he's meant to try and keep secret, so he has extra reason to not bring it out willy-nilly. And he does, and he gets seen by Cordelia, Ivor's like a great example of, I mean, as Gudrid calls him out, hey, this is
kind of like toxic masculinity. It's like the point.
And Ivor being she makes this point in the next page. Ivor kind of says we need to arm ourselves so we don't go to war. Like, that's Ivor's whole point. He gets frustrated because this is his whole point. He's like, yes, I don't want to go to war, but it's on the next page. But then he says, you're right. War is the man's job. Women should stay out of it. Okay, now this is where Ivor always kind of kicks himself and like shoots himself in the foot, because
he literally does this bitch face.
Yeah, exactly. So and then after that, like, this way, and Gudrid kind of, civility has been out of the window. Where like I was like, women should stay out of this. This is what men need to talk about here. And then Gudrid's like, oh, that's it. That's the point. This is what I was trying to say. That's it. Women should stay out of it. At the end of the day, you just want to go to war, rage around, showing off how manly you are, don't you, macho man? Which I think, when applied to specifically Ivor, we've seen this is the point. Ivor does. Ivor cloaks himself in, oh, I'm reasonable, I'm making good points, which is fair enough. But ultimately, we know, at least I think we're all pretty sure that Ivor specifically, he does actually want to go to war. And so she kind of hits the nail on the head, and that's why he gets really mad. And then Stir comes in and, calms him down.
Don't get emotional. Which again...
And then Gudrid kind of reels it back and says, oh, we've seen it all over the old country, and makes like a more emotional, widespreading point. So
because again, if we talk about gender roles and sort of applying this, obviously the big thing is men don't get emotional, or at least not in the way a woman would, even if they do get mad a lot. Sort of like, so he's like coaxing against that. The goofiness here, this is obviously the goofiest part of the Gudrid thing, literally showing her tongue. I think it's fine. Obviously, there are some people that are inherently going to go, what's this silly nonsense? But I think that is the point. I feel like the point is that men sort of think this is a important conversation about war, and to like reduce it to being silly is sort of like, yeah, that's the point, idiot. Like, war is silly. It's dumber than this dumb face.
Okay, that's a
Because
good
you idiots
point.
can't get
Yeah.
along because women can, Lamau. And it's just sort of, it's sort of,
Yeah.
I think this is, again, the wider point if we even look at this conversation contemporaneously, sort of between a more feminist thought is sort of, I've lost my train of thought completely. It's sort of like men might say, like, I've lost my train of thought completely, Bacon. Take over, save me. Goofiness and war. Lamau, that's the point, I think I said.
Okay, I thought you were kind of going for the point. It's like sometimes, like when it comes to these big debates, like sometimes in an argument, and I don't know if it's
Oh,
like
Bacon, I
partly
remembered
to
it.
do with
Can I say it?
culture, but then, oh yeah, go say it.
Uh,
Say it.
th- Fuck, there's no shot, I just forgot it. The point is that the thing here is that in the argument, sort of Gudrid might, and seemingly from what you said about from like the audience reaction, not the audience in Vinland Saga, but in the real world, the fandom's reaction is sort of like people like Gudrid is sort of maybe making Gudrid out to be the antagonist here, not as in the story, but being antagonistic in this one panel. With like starting to make goofy faces and making fun of somebody, whereas like that's not really the moral wrong here. The moral wrong is advocating for swords, which will advocate eventually for war, and sort of like the interpersonal thing, and like women being mean interpersonally. Like usually when you get like I guess a sexist man to talk about something or whatever, and she might complain about something, and the rebuttal will always be like something interpersonal that a woman has done that was bad, whereas like men are usually doing far worse, bigger things.
Mm,
That was kind of the point I was trying to get at, but I screamed over you,
I see.
Bacon, because I would have forgotten, and I almost did forget. You don't forget,
Well,
Bacon, so continue with your point.
actually, I'm gonna just do a different point because I was just trying to fill air. But
Okay, good.
I think one thing is why people kind of feel bad with Gudrid, and I think this is just, and I can speak from personal experience, despite as understanding as and I guess progressive, or just understanding and like of other people's perspectives as I try and be. When someone like Gudrid does go like, "This is what men think," I do kind of like naturally kind of like okay, like just kind of recoil a bit. I'm like, I don't know, for some reason like my hands kind of come up to my
Yeah.
chest like I'm about to
It's
fight,
like
kind of like,
personalizing it, right?
okay,
Because when
yeah,
you hear them, it's
exactly,
not like
it's
this is what men are. It's like, oh, so this is what you think I am, type thing.
yeah, exactly. And I think like initially, if you're a male reader and you're reading this, which I presume most of Vinland
Yeah,
Saga is,
of course.
you're like, oh, okay, what is she saying now? Okay, what is Yukimura saying now? And then you kind of get a bit defensive initially, and so any time like they kind of should be slight, then you're like. Oh, okay, now she's like making this stupid face, now she's being
She's
really
mocking me.
dismissive, and yeah, exactly. And then you kind of end up like either, but to like a less extreme extent, where you're like, okay, they're mocking me, being dismissive, like, and then you're like, okay, now Gudrid's making dumb point, where you're not seeing the whole overarching thing that, hey, it's either who kind of threw the insult first, or they escalated together, and then, but what is the main point that Gudrid is making? Understand that and be empathetic towards that, not just be like. Oh my word, she's being lacking civility because I also lack civility. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
I think that was a point I was trying to get into there. Is that like is civility more important than like war? Like probably not. So being uncivil in the conversation here, even though being uncivil might end up fucking you in the long run because you might optically look bad and make people rush over to either side. But yeah,
Mm.
um,
I mean, personally, I'm always erring on the side of civility, no matter what. Generally, like, and I think that is kind of, I guess, Thorfinn's general mentality as well. I wouldn't say this is generally
yeah.
like Gudrid is different, right? But like, personally, I find it always easier to convince someone, of my position. than mock them, even though mocking may be better for a crowd.
So
You know, we
Bacon,
see this with the Ben Shapiro stuff,
when
or like
someone's a prick to you
with any.
on the Vinland Saga subreddit and you type up a whole thing of civility and he doesn't respond, or you could have just said,
Yeah,
"What a wanker, Lamau, moron." Which one should you have done,
yeah,
Bacon?
yeah, exactly. Oh, I don't
Realistically, the
regret
civility
writing.
probably was better. I'm just pointing out, like,
I know exactly, but
fuck
no,
these
it
fucking
is a great
commenters,
example of
Bacon. They're
my
shit. But yeah, civility probably is good.
you're not
I
wrong.
stopped responding to comments, all right? I'm good.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, no, yeah. I'm assuming you saw the tweet I made about.
Yeah.
I did write
And
like
you and I already
half a
talked
YouTube
about it
video's
on the thing.
worth. Yeah, exactly. I did write half a YouTube video to this one guy, and he was like the Norse version of a weeb, basically.
Yeah.
He just loved the Norse, and he was like, oh, like I've got a little bit of Norse ancestry in me and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, boy, let me explain to you what Yukimi was trying to do and give you perspective. And he was just like, no. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I'm pretty sure I saw the actual comment. Yeah, I think you.
yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah,
It's pretty
the,
funny. Anyway, it was okay in the end.
that
But
might be another
yeah.
experience thing, Bacon. You've experienced all that. You've gone through the thought process of all of this, and trying to communicate it through words just doesn't work. Maybe making YouTube
doesn't
videos
work.
about words just is never going to work. Maybe we should all just give up.
Hang on, hold up. My healed video is
Indeed,
a good
it's
example of
convincing.
it working.
Um,
I think it can be.
convince
I
somebody.
mean, maybe I'm just like patting myself on the back, but I do think I actually did. I saw a shift in conversation around healed, but that may just because the manga included him more. Probably a bit of both.
Convinced me
Anyway.
pretty much, so fuck me.
Oh yeah, nice.
But 20 minutes, Bacon, 20 minutes.
Yeah. So she kind of keeps on saying, "We came to do things differently. You guys need to stop thinking war's a man's job. Men don't. This is the key thing. Men don't have to fight if they don't want to.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that's the point. She's not saying, "Oh, I want to go fight." You know, I want equality for women. She's like saying, "Hey guys, you don't have to fight." You know, it's almost
Equality back this way, not that way.
yeah, like come join us, women. Don't necessarily. Yeah, exactly.
Perfect blushing here. What a little
which is
dog.
that.
You gotta love him.
Oh yeah, so cute. And then you have the Cordelia thing. It's like men don't have to fight if they don't want to. And I think Cordelia probably internally kind of, because of how everybody treats her, she still thinks of herself.
Yeah,
as
this was an
a
interesting
man,
trans moment
and
of like Yukimura might be getting himself into some hot water by having Cordelia think internally, resonate when somebody says man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll
I
see.
never really thought about that.
Yeah, that was.
But
my
yeah,
immediate
I
thought,
think
but yeah.
I think it's because in a way Cordelia is getting the point like, oh,
Cordelia
her
is not the
biology
traditional
doesn't dictate-
trans person, right? She was kind of forced into it by her
No.
mother to like protect her, right? That was the whole thing.
Yeah, it is weird, but
It's
like
odd,
I think it's just the hark on the cultural thing that like Cordelia here is recognizing that this is a cultural thing, you know, like just because I'm biologically male doesn't mean I can't be fully, you know, in my gender roles a woman, you know, like stereotypically, I guess. You know,
There's-
like just because everybody treats me because I've got this big body and everybody just treats me like, you know, a man doesn't mean, you know, like so like it's kind of like it kind of affirms that Cordelia can be who she wants to be on Vinland, and that's the point.
the concerning potential thing here is if like this somehow untranses her, where she's like, oh, I actually am just a man. I'm just like a man that doesn't fight, so I don't actually have to portray as a woman.
Oh, yeah,
I don't think
maybe,
that's where
maybe.
it's going. Then the bread tubers will come out, Bacon.
Yeah, then we'll see it happening.
But yeah, so tentatively, it's fine.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, anyway.
this
A new
this
type of
Gudrid
man
thing,
was
actually, I've
born.
been praising Gudrid. Hold on, Bacon, do you want to say something?
Oh no, you say that. Sorry.
This Gudrid thing, I've been on her side all along. But this is kind of a negative aspect of sort of how women argue. Oh no, I did that thing, remember, where you were like, when Gudrid says man, and you don't like
Yeah,
it?
exactly.
Where it's like, a lot of the time,
ladies, here come out.
Yeah, a lot of the time, women will sometimes default when they're trying to convince men into like saying like, oh, if you do this thing, I'll be attracted to you, sort of like a type thing, where it's there's no way I can't think of an example right now, because I'll sound like a lunatic if I can't. But I actually was. This is sort of connected. I was thinking about this because the women end up making a stand against like the sword thing, and I remember this was a conversation with the Roe v. Wade stuff recently, where the sort of like there were ideas of like just stop having sex with men if you're a woman until Roe v. Wade gets put back in place, and it'll be like that's actual political activism because that'll actually get shit done, because like men don't care about principles at all, they care about sex. And if you like if every woman's decided to become abstinent, now obviously this is impossible because not every woman would agree, and women don't even all agree on all pro-choice or whatever, but it's sort of like this poor advocacy of like, well, if you do this thing, I'll be more attracted to you, and isn't that what you actually want? And it's sort of like a coercive thing to get people to agree with them, which is
okay.
fuck. There's a better example, and it's flying over my head. It's sort of, I guess it's kind of like if you the old memes about male feminists about how they just like agree with women so they can sleep with them. That's kind of a byproduct of this type of encouragement thing. So Gudrid's kind of being like, you should be like my husband. Look, isn't he so cute? I love my husband. Don't you want like women to love you the way I love my husband? Therefore, you should act like this. But also, besides that, it's a very cute character moment. So,
yeah, exactly. Okay,
but yeah,
I can't say I've resonated with your. I guess I resonate with the fact that
it rather poorly. But I'll think about it more.
Give a bit of grace.
It'll hit me 2 hours from now, and I'll be like, that was the thing. But
okay, that's fine. Let's press forward.
15 minutes.
Yeah. Let's like, and she kind of says either you like war, which Ivor has admitted in the past. You're looking for an excuse to start one. That's why I disagree with your claims.
Yeah.
And then you have this Cordelia, like men can also not go to war. Like, yeah, it kind of whatever. But you got this cool panel of like Sturk trying to.
Yeah, I just noticed that one eye is big and one eye isn't. It's fucking sick.
Yeah.
Also,
he got this great like Gudrid.
Oh no, that's Ivor. Wait, it's Ivor's eye and then Sturk's eye. I thought they were both Sturk's eye. I'm an idiot. Never mind.
Oh no. But then you got like this. It's really quite cool, like a perspective on Gudrid's face, as she's kind of like, it's a really cool gesture. But then like, of course, Gudrid, that's what Vinland's about.
Yeah.
You know. And then like.
Please, hating war.
Thorfinn kind of please stay yourself. Like affirming Cordelia. Anyway. And then at this point,
no, go ahead.
Sorry, go. You say it because I'm just blasting through.
Oh, the interesting thing is like Cordelia seems to have never considered that like the gender roles could aren't set in stone, which might lead to her going to the conclusion that she doesn't have to be trans. I think we're memeing ourselves into that. I don't think he's going to actually do that, but anyway.
I never considered before, but I think it's interesting because Sturk is about to get control on the situation, on the conversation again. And he says, okay, I got the gist of it. In short, this debate is about, and then like Cordelia comes up with the big drop, and I love all these reactions. Like Sturk, he doesn't look annoyed. He's just like, okay. Like, I don't know. He looks almost sinister about it. He's like, I was expecting this to come up. Like, he's not. Maybe, I don't know. Like, I was really worried, but Sturk seems under control. And then like Thorfinn's stunned, and then like Hild's face is like she's about to kill Ivor. I don't know. She looks like
Thorfinn's the one that gets a little mad coming up here.
I know later. Yeah. Anyway. So this kind of puts a stall on everything, and she's like, "Oh, I saw Ivor brought the sword," and Cordelia had she has a big moment. She snitches, which is based. And then she's got Carly on her shoulder this whole time, which is quite cool. I do like it.
About
Carly,
the kids, I think.
Carly looking back down. If you go back a page, looking down at Cordelia at the top panel, that's like. Something's happening.
It might be interesting because the kids end up walking towards Hild. It might be interesting if like the kids, because authors love to do, the younger generation gets it. It might be like the Yukimura. What do you call it when the Yukimura endorsement is coming with the kids here of like Cordelia is doing the right thing now, so all the kids are around her like in support, and then they all go to Hild later. But obviously that's a callback to Hild sort of teaching them things. It is interesting how the kids sort of wander. You know what I mean? Over to Cordelia and then over to Hild.
I think there may be different kids, or I think it's also
No,
the
because it
show
is
that
the
like
Canute kid and with
oh
Hiled later. Because this is the
oh is
Eating
it
kid and
okay
the Canute kid, the Moonlight
yeah
Child over there. If I skip
yeah
forward a little bit, actually, I think I might have skipped past it. Where's this
no
panel
you got to
with
keep on going. It's
Hill?
past. Oh yeah
Did I make this panel
oh
up?
yeah it is
Oh
no
yeah, here
it
it is,
is
and it does look like it is the Eating kid and the Canute kid, maybe. Though there is a third one that
no
doesn't
it's
look like Carly.
yeah.
I don't know, maybe all the kids look
Anyway,
the same too, Bacon, like the women.
yeah. Anyway, I was just about to say that I think it's also the show that Cordelia looks kind of motherly as well. You know, she's able to
No.
keep take care of kids as well. So you know.
Or it's the
Anyway,
peaceful option or
we've
something, yeah.
we've got 10 minutes, so we go to the next page, and it's getting Glatty first time with his eyes open. I was like
Yeah.
Pog moment with his sword. So he's like, oh, you know,
Because
you
I,
can
I
see his
did think it
pupils
was
for the first
Einar
time.
initially, so that might be either. So that might have been
Either,
why I was
yeah,
like, maybe they're related or something, but um,
yeah.
he brings the
He
sword
still doesn't say
forth.
anything. He's definitely deaf, or mute or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, like he still doesn't say anything. He just goes, yeah, just grunts. Um,
indeed.
yeah,
And then we get the Thorfinn mad. He's looking at the hint.
yeah,
Einar's there with him. They do not like the sword.
yeah. No, I mean, like this is like similar. Do you know the panel you like in the Baltic Sea War where he's like covering his
Yes, it
face and flames
is.
are going off a
The
bit?
flames are
Yes,
there.
yeah. He is very angry. And Sturk is trying to quell things over, but like like I think this is the first time he says we don't need that kind of thing in Vinland. Like his like the font changes, like he's clearly
Yeah, it's
really
bold.
angry. Like, and then like if you go to the next page, it's an easy panel to miss, but everybody's kind of stunned silent
Yeah. And Stork's
in a
got his
way,
big
which is
eyes.
kind of
He's like, "Ooh, this is serious."
yeah.
Oh,
I think
Go ahead.
Sturk also realizes. I think he knows. I think if that like almost confirms in his mind that he's like, oh crap, Thorfinn is actually a
I
warrior.
was
Like
about
he
to
could
bring this
throw
up.
hands
Yeah.
if he need to.
I wonder.
And so like he quickly like masterminds like, okay, everybody vote right now. We know we got the numbers on our side at the moment. You know, everybody vote right now. You know,
Yeah.
like he just kind of takes control of the situation. So Thorfinn kind of get angry and kind of intimidate people into voting one way or another. Because if Thorfinn, I mean, to be fair, if Thorfinn shows like fighting as force, you know, that kind of proves like
Yeah.
in this
Proves the other
situation
side.
that completely proves his point wrong. But it could be convincing. So yeah.
It was interesting because I was thinking this while reading it also, and this is the toxic masculinity coming out in me, where I was like, where Ivar was continually talking about how Thorfinn isn't as much of a man as him. I was like, what if Thorfinn just got up and beat the fuck out of him right now? Would he like win the argument, or at least he would prove like the manliness argument? Would that reinforce people? Like if the people attack, Thorfinn could just beat them all up, which he might literally be able
Yeah.
to do with the Vinland Saga logic.
Yeah.
I wondered about that. Obviously,
Well,
that's not going to happen because it would prove his point and everything like that. I also was just wondering, what would happen if in this moment he fucking stabbed Stork or something? Would Hild kill him, or is that done with? What do you think would happen? That's
I
probably
think
something
she
we don't
would
have
kill him,
time
but
for. But I was just like,
uh,
is she?
yeah.
She probably
I mean,
wouldn't. She'd probably be very mad, and everybody would be very mad, and Vinland would be over. Um,
no, I think she would. I think she would kill him.
she'd
Maybe
revert.
not. I mean, I think she would revert. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
It's not going to happen,
Um,
but
uh,
well, I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe at the
no,
very end it might happen or something, but it obviously wasn't going to
maybe.
happen
But
anyway. Yeah.
I think that's part of the point that like humor is like, you know, like I feel like lots of people feel like this. Yeah, everybody's. I've seen loads of comments like everybody's like, I can't wait until Thorfinn just beats this guy up and shows him. But that's almost like but that's almost like the point. Like, imagine if
Yeah.
Thorfinn wasn't a fighter. Like, how, like, it's
Yeah.
easy for Thorfinn to say these things because ultimately he knows in a one-on-one duel he can go toe-to-toe with anybody, basically, right? But,
What about sword?
but,
What
you
about
know,
a boy that was on the horse that swinged over really fast? Now that's a fight.
oh, yeah, yeah, no, that's that Polmuk.
Yeah.
But, but, like, if you're just your average Joe
Yes.
and you
Yes. I
can't
get it.
1v10 Yorms
7p.
Vikings, you know, yeah,
You
or
can't
whatever,
one
you
v
know, like,
hundred in the forest with your big sword. What to do?
yeah, like, yeah, so like I think Thorfinn's experience, like in some regard, isn't
Yeah.
completely analogous to a average person. But
Yeah.
anyway,
If this is supposed to be a
um,
teaching experience, you can't
Mm.
put Thorfinn's supernatural fighting ability into the solution. Because then what am I
Hmm.
supposed to do when I'm trying to create Vinland over here? Um,
Yeah, exactly.
but yeah,
Anyway, Sturg kind of takes control of the situation. Hild realizes this and goes, "Oh, damn!" Like she's kind of on the same wavelength of what Sturg is
yeah.
doing. Like she understands how he's being manipulative. Um, but like Sturg is big braining this for sure.
Hmm.
He is a very, very good
He's the
in
rhetoric in the Rats and Rhetoric of
yeah,
last chapter.
yes, indeed. And then we got the whole next chapter, and it's interesting how Sturg's like, yep, children count as well as voting,
Yeah, that was
which
interesting.
is
I think they end up
based
voting
based
against him
Sturg.
too. Um,
Yeah, exactly. That's
Children
how
have a
confident he
unique
is.
perspective sometimes. As long as they don't outnumber you, I guess it's okay if they get to vote.
I mean, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't say children should necessarily like a 1-year-old
Put them in the
baby
ballot. Put them on the
voting.
ballot. Put them on the ballot
Put it on
too.
the ballot.
Let's vote for the kids.
Yeah.
We'll put a 12-year-old in charge of this country. See what happens.
Hmm. It's interesting how they do highlight. And what about Hild? Like where's she going? But I
Is
think
that
it's
like a
pretty
kid's
clear.
internal monologue, or are people just looking at it generally? Because she's like a
I don't
leader
know. Mm.
in
Maybe
the
they do follow
community.
Hild.
So
Yeah,
she's
maybe
like
they do
creating
follow
things,
Hild.
and people are like, "Oh, she's smart. Maybe I should."
Yeah. Everybody does go back to like the children do go back to Hild and like abandon Cordelia there actually in the big panel. But
Yeah,
I did look through it, and it is like there are no women on the other side. It's all men.
yeah,
I looked through it meticulously, and I think this is one thing that did rub me the wrong way. Is like it's so unanimous. Maybe it is just like an internal culture of like cliquiness. Like if it was if you didn't know who was voting, like if it was in secrecy, like the voting was in secret, I reckon you probably would
That's
have more
actually
men voting for
interesting.
the other
That's right.
side.
Voting is very importantly secret in most modern democracies to try and avoid
Yeah.
this. This is like people talk about this with Donald Trump, right? People wouldn't say publicly that
Mm.
they were voting for him, but when they got into the voting booth in 2016, well, they kind of did. That is
Yeah.
actually interesting.
And so I was feeling, like with the women, they have their almost lobby and their clique in this fact that, when they're maybe, because they're divided, they're washing up and the men are in the fields, like they
Mm.
talk about different things with each other. And so they have different perspectives. And so that's why there's such a strong divide. That's what I've kind of used to. This
I
initially rubbed
think,
me the wrong way, but
I
I think
think,
it's
I think you can,
okay. I
yeah.
think it's okay. That's so binary.
I
I
th-
think it's okay.
I'm
But
actually going the other direction and saying that it's okay. I think Yukimura might be hitting on a thing of like women just aren't as violent, and obviously they
mm.
would be against war type thing. And I think that kind of is okay. I think that kind of does map onto reality a little bit. Um,
Mm. I just guess like I wouldn't think it you'd think that maybe some I mean these are Greenlanders and they have agreed to come here not for war.
yeah.
But at the same time you would think that,
Well,
a
they kind of
woman
explain.
would be like, okay, I don't want my children to get hurt. So like they maybe, women are just as fearful as men. But
Yeah, they
anyway,
kind of
we'll
get
get to the
into it in
fearful thing later on.
the next bit with the
Yeah, I think this
coward
is
stuff of
I
flipping
think
it.
this is why yeah, I mean I think this is where like Sturg kind of gives a counter argument to
He
all
says it's
of
almost, by the way, here. So maybe there are. Oh well, I guess he means there's some men on the other side and there are no women
yeah,
because he checked. Yeah,
that's what I presume.
yeah,
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, he was like, "Oh, I told you so."
oh,
Like
yeah,
she kind of knew the pragmatic. She's playing the pragmatic game. But anyway, Gudrid gets flustered because that's like, "Oh, that's unfair." There's more men. That's unfair. Men are really war-loving idiots. And she kind of drops the civility again and gets frustrated, which is a Gudrid thing. This is
mm,
like, that what her character is. But then Sturg kind of gives his point of view to push back, and he says, hey, not all of us want to just fight like either. Some
yeah,
of us, most of us, and I assume most men are just scared. They just don't want bad things happening to them, so they bundle up in groups for strength, and for security, and just to feel
yeah.
safe. And it's it's just as selfish, but it's not as nearly like meat-headed as people make it out to see. And he kind of just he's very honest, and he's just like sorry for being a cowardly man. Now,
Yeah,
if
I
he is being
think.
honest, we don't know, but like I
Yeah,
think he is in some regard.
I
Yeah.
think the point is that like toxic masculinity is like cowardice. Is like the point is like they're scared
Mm.
to not be seen a certain way, or they're scared. They're actually deep down scared. So you project the big masculine type appearance. And I
Hmm.
do have like 2 minutes because not only is the car getting confiscated, but the laptop is going flat quickly, so we might have to run through this.
I see.
But quickly, I actually forgot what I was going to say quickly. Just to recap what we do, what the rest of the chapter is. Ivor actually points out that there are also cowardly men. What I was going to say is it's interesting that Ivor also says that it's like a cowardly thing afterwards. It's not just Stirk. But then Ivor says that there's also cowardly men in the Linu tribe, so they're going to have the same thoughts as we do, so we should be armed anyway. And then Thorfinn's like, big brain. The Linu are coming, and then Bug Eyes is making a dumb face, and they show up with them, and they're being very friendly. So it seems like, I didn't even notice the shaman is in the background there.
Shamans, everybody's here. Everybody's here, which is what makes it exciting.
Bug Eyes' wife is there. I'm seeing it. But that's where the chapter ends.
Gippy.
But yeah.
Yeah. Just to talk one thing, like Ivor does talk, is like, talking is already about force. A strong man does not want to talk to a weak man. An equal strength will make you even make the negotiation table. There's a conflict there. Like, there's something to talk about. Like, cause it's true. Like, if you're strong enough, you will just run over them. You won't even give them a second thought. But if it's comparable, you do want to negotiate. But at the same time, like, Thorfinn is the strongest. You need to be able to relinquish force and strength to negotiate in the first place. So anyway, I think that's something that interesting that I was talking about. But Thorfinn kind of just goes, here's the boys. So
I think this will help in the long run. We do have to end imminently. I think this has been one of our best Vinland Saga Chapter, Bacon. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. There's a lot to dig into it. It's good fun. It's good fun.
Not plot heavy, a thought heavy chapter. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. Something heavy.
Thematically rich.
Yes. It's a rich chapter, perhaps. It's the first resort thing here, which you were talking about with Ari recently too, about the last resort and what Thorfinn's last resort is. And him sort of justifying the slight acts of violence he does in the Baltic Sea War arc when he's defending thingies, just not killing. That's the whole thing. That's a bunch of callbacks. There are even stuff we didn't get to get into here. But with that being said, Bacon, any very quick final words?
Subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Show yourself, on the Ordinary RE channel. Bacon's going through all of Vinland Saga with RE. It's great stuff. Everybody should go check it out. Maybe in 3 years we might do a Berserk thingy. Who knows?
Maybe.
And maybe RE will be here next month. All exciting things in the future. You got to subscribe to everybody to keep up. With that being said, support links in the description below. Thanks.